Hi, and welcome back to Weekend Edition. This is Rehash, where we, the news team, recap the big stories of the past week. And starting off with Nick, who had the biggest story of the week, I think.
Right, Chris. That's actually been the biggest story in the last 2 weeks, the second week of the murder trial of Tory Jr., the former Guam police officer that we've all been following this very high-profile case in the last couple of weeks since trial started. And this week, we have, of course, heard from his father, Lieutenant Tory Sr., who said and recalled he recalled what happened whenever he learned that a shooting had just happened outside of his home. The first thing he said he could hear from the victim, Officer Bert Piolo, was, "Lieutenant, help me. They shot me." And it wasn't clear who they may happen to be, but that, of course, is what we're hoping to learn more of in the coming weeks of the trial as it goes on. And on Monday, we're hoping to hear that 911 call that Bert made the moment he was shot.
And speaking of the police department, I also covered another officer, one of the most senior ranking officers, Colonel Mark Charfris, who was recently demoted from colonel to major. And that's a really big deal because it doesn't happen too often that there's a demotion in the department. Again, this all stems from an incident on Christmas Eve. And if you recall, it was like a very viral social media video. It was actually captured on a body camera that was worn by one of the responding officers. And so there was an investigation. There was 2 investigations actually launched into Colonel Charfris that resulted in the demotion. And he is actually, through his lawyer, we talked to his lawyer, Attorney Randy Cunliffe, who said, hey, he's going to appeal, he's going to challenge that decision, where the Civil Service Commission has about 20 days to do so. And that's when we'll actually find out all the facts, because that's when it'll be open to the public. And I can't wait to see the juicy details. Next, Ken.
Speaking about demotions, the story I did was about demoting someone to a second-class status, and specifically about where you live should not impact your right to vote. This stems back for a few years ago about a federal voting rights lawsuit that the We the People Project, led by former Guam resident attorney Neil Weir. He's representing about 6 former residents of Illinois who currently live now in U.S. territories, and they're being denied the right to vote because of where they moved. And a federal court ruled last year that where you live, if you move to a U.S. territory, you don't have the right to vote, but it's also protecting those, but also allows the right to vote for people who move to foreign countries. So they filed an appeal, and what I guess the interesting angle of this is they partnered up with this crowd funding platform. It's called Crowd Justice, and they're from the United Kingdom, but they're launching in the United States, and this case is one of the first ones that they're taking on, and they hope to raise about $10,000 for this appeal and to move forward with hopefully voting for the president.
And I've been working on a couple of stories that have some kind of national relations to it. If you've been following President Trump court case involving the ban on travelers from 7 countries that are predominantly Muslim. So we got some reaction from a couple of, and the local Muslim population here is very small, but we had an opportunity to speak to a couple of representatives from the Masjid Al-Nur Mosque in Mangilaw. And they, of course, were very opposed to what the president is trying to do. They believe it is unfair and discriminatory. And also related to that, there was the conference that you attended.
The annual district conference.
Yeah, the annual district conference, and one of the speakers there also brought that up. He happens to be kind of a supporter of the anti, but he believes that the stronger case is on the president's side.
And that was Professor Jonathan Turley, who's
Yes.
quite a public speaker, and I was really thrilled to sit through some of his talks. And if you have any news tips for us here at the news, just email us at KUAM, that's reporters@KUAM.com, or send us a message on Facebook. It's that easy.